Hey y'all, it is Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. So I've had a few encouraging breakthroughs this week as far as writing goes. Actually, a lot of encouraging things happening. Thank the Lord, I have been able to maintain my evening writing routine, which has been really nice to have that structure to my day. When I reach a certain point of the day, at this time, school is done, and now I'm focusing on story stuff. That has been really helpful and just helps me to feel productive, like I'm maintaining productivity in school, but also in my story stuff. But that is not the encouraging breakthrough that I want to talk about in this video. Actually, two encouraging breakthroughs. Breakthrough number one. This happened second, but I want to talk about it first. I figured out, finally, one of the motivations for one of my smaller villains. Villain is a strong term for this character because he's really not a big bad in any sense. He's one of those more low-tier, problematic characters that does pose a threat or opposition to the heroes, but really isn't that important. Think like the Duke of Weselton. If the Duke of Weselton had a little bit more of a sympathetic storyline, like him. My problem with this character was that I knew that he had some kind of motive behind the scenes that had influenced things. He wanted something from the main characters. We didn't know what it was. The issue was that I was setting up this very minor sort of peripheral character to have too big a role. I was establishing that there must be some great motive behind the scenes, and it had to be significant enough to be included in the story, but it couldn't be so big that this minor character would then detract from the workings of the actual big bad villains. So I was in a bit of a bind. I had painted myself into a corner. A few weeks back, I did a video on streamlining my story, and this kind of fits into that vein. You can watch that video right here, by the way. This kind of fell into that category because my solution was to take that minor character, whose name is really long, but I'll just call him Ronnie. I took Ronnie and combined him with another more minor character and combined their motives. So now instead of having a bunch of little characters running around all looking out for number one with motivations of their own that I'll have to flesh out in the story, now I just group them together. They have one common goal that does influence the story, but it shouldn't detract, it should actually add to the motivations of the other villains. So by combining him with another character and making his goal align with some of the other goals going on in the story, not only made it simpler, but I found a way to make that character and his motivation fit in the story that I didn't have before. So that was just a huge blessing, huge weight off the shoulders. Breakthrough number two, I'm honestly even more thankful for. This weekend, I figured out what to do with the scene that I just have been grappling with for ever. And by forever, I mean as of this year when I wrote this scene originally. I really liked it when I first wrote it. I thought it was essential to the story. It brought in some new characters that I hadn't had in past drafts. I was really proud of it. But recently I've been really wrestling with this scene and feeling not good about it in actually a spiritual way. There are parts of it and aspects of it that just feel a little bit theologically out of my depth. I don't feel qualified necessarily to be interpreting these spiritual ideas and incorporating them into a fantasy context. This weekend I was at that point in my editing. I was in that point in the story, working through and revising, and I couldn't brush past it anymore. It was this is a problem. I need to do something about this. I can't just leave it in there. But what do I do? I decided early on that this is a crucial point. It conveys necessary information. Do I put it from someone else's perspective? Do I just cut out the stuff that I think is problematic and try and patch the rest together? What do I do with it? And then the Lord just got a hold of me and clobbered me on the head as I was sitting in the pews before Sunday morning service. Yes, sometimes I have these things on my mind during Sunday morning service. The solution was this: remove the scene. I realized, looking at it more objectively and stepping back, that it was not even necessary. I really thought it was. I thought it had essential information, but I could just transfer that information over to another scene and the rest can just be chopped, which is a blessing, not only because it solved my problem, but because that doesn't happen all the time. If you have a really foundational scene that you're wrestling with, you don't always have the option of just getting rid of it. You need to rewrite, you need to revise, you need to go back to the basics and figure out what to put here. But in this case, this is one of those glorious cases where I could just do a scenectomy. I could just pull it out without really harming the story, and I was so thankful that God kind of showed me that, got a hold of me and showed me look, this really isn't as necessary as you think. You can just remove it and remove that problem and your struggle with this scene along with it. Problem solved. That really felt like one of those cases, which I just appreciate so much, where the Lord kind of actively gets involved in the writing process and helps me to keep the story on a God-honoring trajectory. So those were my writing blessings and breakthroughs this week. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like and subscribe and comment below with a breakthrough that you have had recently that you are very thankful for. And as always, do not forget to spend some time in the clouds today.